Of course, I want to take a couple minutes to introduce myself. My name is Patricia Tomlinson. I am a motivational speaker and teacher for women that have been impacted by all forms of abuse, primarily molestation and rape. Of course, many of you know that has been my personal story. I have posted in the group intimate and personal details as far as what happened to me, how it happened to me, how old I was when it happened, who I told, being called a liar, and different things of that caliber. And so I have a YouTube channel where I post information for women that are trying to overcome this specific type of issue, which branches off into all different types of issues in your life. I also battled with codependency for years, and I actually have just understood what that is in its entirety. And so last week, the title "Why I Am Single" just came to me, and I had to think of it. Okay, why am I single? And just having a lot of issues in my childhood as far as my mother and father being on substance abuse, such as drugs. I didn't feel like I had the right environment for me to be cultivated in as a young woman, meaning that majority of things that I have learned in my life is either been through trial and error or me watching someone doing it wrong and trying my best to do it the right way. And so when you sit and you think about that, I did have a grandmother and I sat and I took care of her for years, but I don't feel like in our generation that I could get everything that I needed from her because some of the stuff I just needed to experience it for myself. For instance, when I was 23 years old, I met a man. He was about 41 years old. I always attract older men that are about 40, 45, and 50. The younger men really just don't, it's not that they don't like to talk to me. I did ask one man, okay, well, what is the reason why I don't attract young guys? And he said, well, majority of the time it's because they know that you're actually serious, that you want to get married and have children. So some of you may know that right now I don't have children at this time. I'll be 33 in less than 4 weeks on December 2nd. And so when he said that to me, it didn't put me in a bind, but it made me start to think about my life. Okay, well, if they see me and they see that I'm serious and they don't want to date me, maybe I shouldn't press the envelope on trying to date a man that really doesn't necessarily want to date me or court me in the way that I know he should. Now, I've been saved since I was 16 years old, but that doesn't mean that I've always lived right, or that doesn't mean I've always done the right things. I am in a time of celibacy and abstinence now. However, that doesn't mean that I've always been that way. I lost my virginity at a young age, just through talking to different friends. Like, well, hey, girl, what you do? And then you end up talking, and then you end up doing it. And so through all of that, not having the proper guidance from my family, the women in my family, a lot of them are involved in abusive relationships, dysfunctional and toxic relationships. Unfortunately, I follow a lot of their pattern. Like they tell you, children don't do what you tell them, they do what they see. And so my mother being in an abusive relationship where we actually used to fight my father for her while they were in their altercations, I grew up thinking that that was normal. And so I got in my first abusive relationship when I was 16 years old. And it's funny now, but when I look back, if I would have caught those as warning signs, I could have saved myself a lot of unnecessary trauma and hurt and pain. So, of course, him being 15, 16, I'm the cheerleader, he's the football star. And how we ended up getting together is he told me that I was fat and I told him that he was ugly. Somehow we still ended up together, which goes to show you that people that have issues oftentimes do end up together if they're not healed. Okay, so that relationship lasted for 7 years. Unfortunately, he cheated with majority of all my friends. It's amazing how when you get with a man, most people don't want him until you get with him. And that showed me something about myself. Okay, well, what type of woman am I that when I get with a man that his market value actually exceeds or it increases? And so I noticed that. Now, I've always been the type of woman that has always had a male friend. I love a man's perspective. I think it's healthy to have a balance between having male friends and female friends. However, when you are in God, he will definitely show you why there is a time that you need to either be single, take time away from actually, I want to be careful, take time away from actually just having men in your personal space all the time. And so as I got older, as I started out, I dated this man that was 20. Well, I was 23 and he was 41. And so most of you know the story of Centonia the young lady that was involved with the man that was older than her when she was 16 and he was 40 something years old. If you would like to, you can go and look at that interview on the Breakfast Club. I actually just got done watching that today, just a couple hours ago. When I watched it, it made me so sad. I mean, I literally had to take a couple moments and pray after watching that. It brought like a heaviness on me to see that me and this woman had a lot of similarities. No, I've never killed anybody. I've never been sex trafficked, but there were certain points in her story that I can relate to. For instance, her mother was an opportunist, as she stated. Her mother only came around when the glitz and the glam started to show and when she was put up in front of the media. She prayed a prayer and how God didn't answer it for years, how her purpose so extends throughout the earth to help women understand that, her whole situation was she thought that it was okay for her to do the things that she was doing for this man under the pretense that they were in love. And it was so sad that she said that she finally understood that it was not love until she was in prison. She was taking up for him, defending him when everything came out. And he didn't defend her at all. He just left her in prison to dry. I think she did like 15 or 16 years of a life sentence. And it was so many details about that story. It really just touched me because to see this young woman, she had some issues because she was adopted. Her mother clearly rejected her and abandoned her. So it caused her to go out and live out in the streets. She said she was sleeping on just sleeping outside. And her actually adoptive mother would call her and say, hey, babe, come home, because obviously she knew that it was dangerous out there. She hooked up with this young man and he completely exploited her. Had her doing other types of sexual favors and intimacy with other men. And basically, he pimped her out. He basically sex trafficked this young girl. And she lost a lot of her life and a lot of her time. And she said that when she was in school, she had all these different type of behavioral issues, but she was very smart and very intelligent. However, she just had some inward issues going on because of the rejection that she experienced from her mother. And so when I watched that, it was so beautiful to see her in her happy ending because her husband, it was actually there on the show. And he talked about how God actually merged them, how he knew that she was his wife, even when she was in jail. And so to see her come out on the other side, I know that it's only right to share a lot of the information I have gleaned in the past 10 years. Being involved with the older man and any woman that is involved with a man that is not mature, I don't recommend it. I'll say this. When you are a woman, you know that women we mature in a certain way a little bit faster than men. We want to settle down. We want to have kids. We don't want to play house. We want to have the house. And sometimes for a man, he still has to go through that wandering stage where he is just out in the streets, just trying to find themselves. And a lot of women get caught up in that cycle and it drives them crazy where a woman is trying to play the wife, but she doesn't have the title nor the ring of a wife. And so that was my situation. I spent 9 years of my life with a man that every time he came around and went into a different cycle, it was like, okay, we're going to be together. Me, I'm pretty loyal. So sometimes I'm loyal to a fault. And eventually God started to take the blinders off my eyes and help me to really see that was not love, that he didn't love me, because he really didn't even love himself. And God, I thank him in his mercy that he stopped me from pursuing something that was actually taking me from him. A lot of women are in relationships where this man is actually an idol in their life, meaning that women will do more for this man and be more obedient to him than they are to the Lord. And so what God does is, or sometimes he allows us to get into a situation where it's like you're in a whirlwind and your life may be falling apart, or ideas or business concepts or relationships that you want to start in don't fester. And that was exactly what happened to me. Many of you know that I also went through about 8 years of homelessness, where I went through other houses, working and navigating with women to help them understand trauma. But at the same time, I myself, as a young woman, was also traumatized. I was traumatized from my childhood But you couldn't have told me that because I had a wonderful house, an apartment. I had an amazing job. I did hair on the side. I can easily make $500 in a day. And I mentored. I made $186 an hour speaking at an organization in a group that the Lord had opened up a door for me to do. However, when everything finally came to the surface, God explained to me that He had to chastise me because of my ways. I really do not understand. Well, actually, I do. It took me a while to understand how I got placed into a situation where this man was taking advantage of me. He dated and courted other women. When things were going good for me, he would be around, and then he would just run when things seemed like they were going to take a turn. And a lot of women go through that. Selling themselves short, meaning that you'll do anything to keep him, anything to make him happy at the expense of your health, at the expense of your happiness. Sitting and waiting by the phone for him to call, not going out and having your friendships with other women because he might not like it. And I've learned that a lot of men don't like women's friends that are strong when they are full of manipulation and trying to get over on a woman. And so for years, I had friendships, but I didn't really call them for friendships. Like if she came up against him or said anything about him, it was like, oh no, I'm not gonna let you do that because that's my man. The crazy part about it is we never had the title. And this is what loyalty will do. You will be so loyal to a fault because there is no title. More than aware that he's out there living his best life. He has several different women and he is not loyal. And we help these men perpetuate these cycles of dysfunction where they break women's heart because they are inconsistent. And I've seen it drive women crazy. And I'm going to be the first to say it absolutely had me up and down. When he would come around, everything would be fine. And then, hold on one second, I gotta close my window. It's 1 minute everything would be fine and then everything would change, and then it would be like we would talk for 6 months and then we wouldn't talk for 6 months, and I just was like, I really started praying. This is the part that I want to really reiterate. A lot of women are prayer warriors. A lot of women have wonderful spirits. They can speak encouragement. They can speak life to a man. That does not necessarily mean that that man that God may have put in your life for a season is your husband. That does not mean that he is the one that you are to marry. Maybe you are meant to have some time where you two encourage one another. He could be a prereq to the man that you're going to get with. I've seen it many times where women have dated a man right before they met the man that they were supposed to marry. I always kind of equate my situation to Diary of a Mad Black Woman, where she got treated so wrong by this man. And then when he really needed her, God brought him back around. He mended her heart through that situation, and he actually released her from that. And so I knew I was to do this specific series or this specific recording because yesterday I have some things. I work at a salon, and it was a man in there. We had a really interesting conversation, and it was about me being single. And he was older. I think he was like 60, but he just wanted to know, what are you doing? Like, are you dating? Like, are you single? And I told him, I said, I just don't have time for games. And so when I went down the whole list of my life changing, it was funny because it was everything that I wanted to say on this broadcast. And so I did a post and I said, wow, it's so amazing that you can be single and happy. I want to tell you that being in a relationship does not mean that you're going to get happiness from that relationship. I really believe that you have to be happy within yourself. You have to know yourself, understand yourself. What are your gifts? What are your talents? What were you created to do? What is your purpose? A couple moments before I started this broadcast, I put like 5 different posts of memes or captions that I saw throughout social media that inspired me to do this particular live. And one of them stated that when women get in relationships, they're not like men. Men continue to go on. They play football, basketball. They keep their times with the guys. They don't lose themselves. And I think I believe, and I've also experienced that a lot of times when relationships or men come, we're so excited about, Netflix and chill, or that it's cuddle season, that we lose ourselves. And then when they come around and it's springtime, and, all the women are coming out and they get to see the variation of different type of women, they actually just walk away. And so what I'm learning and why I am single at this particular time in my life is because it's a time of preparation. I wanted to be that I have so much substance, so much to give my mate, that when we finally do meet each other, he says, "Oh no, this is not somebody that I am willing to let go of." Not in a crazy stalker type of sense, but that he knows that I'm a good thing and that I am worth being married, that I'm worth the wedding ring or being called someone's wife. Because when you sit down and take time for yourself, you get to hear your thoughts about yourself, how you feel about yourself. You get to acknowledge the areas of vulnerability or areas that are weak that you may need to build up. And for the past 6 months, the Lord has really put me in a time of solitude. I want to just say more like consecration, where He's showing me different things about myself, things I need to clean up, habits that I need to get rid of. Hence, I just started a 21-day Speak Life challenge, where there's no gossip, there's no tea spilling, no shade, no drama. If somebody clap back at you, you don't clap back at them. You don't speak the negativity that they speak about you. You just really release yourself to come up another level. And it's really been a blessing to me. And I understand that before you get married, there is a time of preparation. Most people believe that you meet the guy, you court the guy, you get engaged, and then you got to prepare for the marriage. Honestly, you really should be preparing for it before you actually come into your courtship. Say, for instance, you're dating somebody, and then all of a sudden he just changes his mind. He doesn't want to be married to you, or just married, period, a relationship, and he walks away. I'm not going to speak ridiculously and say that it won't hurt, but because you know your worth, you won't settle. You won't continue to try and pull this man back into a relationship just because of the time that you spent with him. And that was one of the main things that I had to let go of when the situation happened with this gentleman. And I had to let go of the time that I spent, knowing that eventually that time of what I learned, if I used it in a positive way, it wouldn't negatively affect me. I would just use that for the betterment of my next relationship. There is a purpose to being single. And when it comes around this time in Ohio, oh, thank you, Shantae. That made me so happy. It's, I told people for the 21-day challenge just to do it. You don't have to, like or comment or anything. Just commit to yourself. So I really hope and pray that it's, working for you. But basically, for me and my singlehood, I don't have children yet. And we grew up in a dysfunctional home. And that's my main aim. Families are in shambles right now, and there's a lot of dysfunction. And I just feel like, for me, I want to have that opportunity to try and bring some normalcy into my life. And when you really think about it, you're really dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're the cream of the crop. There's nobody else like you. So there's no point to spend so many years of your life divulged, into a person or into a man that's not even sure if he wants to commit. I've done it. I've spent 9 years, and I just committed to myself. And, the Lord has a funny way of helping you commit to yourself. You're not going to do that. And how He really broke it down to me is, you are my beloved. You are my daughter. I'm not going to let anybody exploit you. Not a man, not an organization, not a person. You belong to me. And when He expressed that to me, it just really soothed my heart. Like, wow, Lord, you care about me this much that you don't want me to waste my time, substance, years, my imagination on a person that is not even sure if they want to commit to me. And I just want to tell you, ladies, that you do not have to settle. Yeah, it's nice to have a male friend. It's nice because you get a male friend's perspective, but not to demean our men, because they are wonderful and they are great. But I am noticing like a predatory type of, let's say, spirit or influence on a lot of men, where this is not to dissuade you from dating. This is just to give you some pointers. If you battle with any type of codependency where you get men that are like projects and you're the fixer upper, and they come around you when they're low, and then when they get themselves together because you've built them up, they walk away. Um, that's more like codependency. And then so you have to question yourself, why do I need a man that's not in the place that he really can lead me to fix him up, to tune him up for him just to walk away? And so I am single because I am tired of people trying to make me feel guilty because I am. Every woman's worth is not determined by the man that she dates. That is in no means to demean or downgrade marriage, because that's the goal. Hashtag goals. That's the goal. But if I understand and am honest with myself, like, wow, this is a preparation for marriage because I am not yet ready, I can take the time that I need to prepare myself, get my mind right, because it's not like a boyfriend. You know, you can't just, when you're married, you can't just up and walk away like, oh, he didn't make breakfast this morning, you know, I see you in 60 days. It's not like that. You literally spend your whole life with this person for the rest of your life. And that's what it's supposed to be. And so I didn't want to lose myself anymore in a relationship. I didn't want to feel bad about being single because society says that I need a man to help define me. When in all actuality, all I need is the Lord to tell me who I am and what I'm meant to do. And I do it. I execute it, and I do it with God, and it works out pretty good. Now, don't misunderstand me. When you are in this world, you do experience a lot, but it's something that you can experience with God. So I'm not ashamed of my journey, anything that I went through. When I watched the lady Centoya, it was very eye opening that this young woman got exploited by this older man because of the issues that she didn't know how to heal from. And she openly talked about it, how Jesus healed her. And you know, you see this woman smiling and laughing and enjoying time with her husband, and he loves her and he prays for her. And I was just like, wow, not coveting their marriage because everybody's is different, but I said, if I take the necessary time and prepare myself, I can have a wonderful relationship and marriage too. And so that is why I am single. And so I want to encourage you, women, um, don't think that life ends just because one man doesn't see you for the wonderful, beautiful, amazing woman that you are. There are so many different men in the world. And it's her husband even said it because he was married before he got with her. He said, you always get the counterfeit before you get the real thing. And it's funny because in my instance, I think I've got about 4 or 5 within the past month. But because I know where I am and what I ultimately need, I need time by myself. You know, I'm working on some health goals. You know, I have to meal prep. You know, I get up and spend time with the Lord in the morning. You know, I go work out. There's different projects and things that I'm working on. I just don't feel that inviting somebody in that space to take up time. You know, you have to cultivate a relationship. You got to spend time on the phone. You got to go to the movies, you know. I do all that with myself because I don't think yet that I'm actually ready to give all that time to someone else just yet. And I think I'll know when it's time, but there is a reason why I'm single. There's a benefit to it, and I enjoy it. I love being at my home. I love cooking dinner. I love spending time with myself. I love taking myself skating, meeting different people, networking. It's worth it. And when you're by yourself, it gives you such of a confidence and a strength. And honestly, when you get with a man, it says that he that find a wife find a good thing and obtain favor with the Lord. It also says that God makes the woman a suitable helpmeet for him. He is going to need your help. So, in your time of singlehood, That is a time to discover your gifts, talents, and abilities, because those may be the very things that are hidden inside that your mate needs you to have for the relationship. So, this was very important to me because I know that I'm doing what is right. And it's also important because when you deal with women, there are so many women that are in relationships, they're not happy, they're not fulfilled. Hi, they're not happy, they're not fulfilled, and they'll stay there. They'll stay there. But I have such a fulfilling within myself. I'm just not willing to settle. And I'm going to give you ladies one more scenario. So I had a person that just randomly showed up, and he wasn't somebody that I knew that I was familiar with, but he tried to talk to me. And I just feel like sometimes you do have to not test the waters, but you do have to open yourself up sometimes to see if this person is the one. And so I talked to him for a couple hours, and then I didn't feel right. My spirit didn't feel right. It was some things that he said, and basically he turned out to be more or less an opportunist. Okay. And what it was is that a lot of times when you are a great woman and you have potential and there's things that you're going to do in life, and you're making strides, or you're in business, or maybe you're going to have some form of money, or you bring a lot to the relationship, you do meet a lot of opportunists, people that prey on you, people that try to use you, uh, for lack of better words, pimp you out. Okay. And so I saw that trait on him. And so I said, I tried to be very tasteful. I said, you're a wonderful person. I appreciate the time that we have talked, on the phone, but I'm going to go ahead and pull back. And it was amazing to see how quick he turned. Now, he had already been showing the signs that I was discerning, but he turned when I called him out on it. And he said, you're self-centered, and you're this, and you're that. And I just was like, wow, all of this over a couple hours of conversation. Now, ladies, can you imagine that if I would have continued down that path with this man for months and months and months, and we're talking on the phone, and I think everything is fine, totally ignoring what God is telling me about him. He called me self-centered. He tried to twist the situation. And I honestly laughed. I thought it was quite amusing, because normally that type of mind control would normally work. Normally that type of guilt trip, like, oh, he's a nice guy, let me go ahead and keep talking to him, maybe he can change, maybe I can help him change. No, splash all that. When he called me self-centered, it let me know that I'm working on my core, and that's exactly what I need to do. I don't need to let anybody invade that space. And every time I do it and I make the right decision, I feel God fortify me that much more. I feel like God is proud of me, because in a society right now where relationships, it's just bay this and bay that, right. Can't ignore those red flags. And when I tell you, ladies, through this time of singleness, I'm able to hear myself so much more clearly, and I'm able to hear God. He'll tell me counterfeit. He'll tell me if a man is deceitful. Sometimes, men even try and entertain you, and they're married, but they don't tell you because they don't have on a wedding ring. And God will literally tell me something's not right with him or right with his spirit. Come away from him, So you have to remember that the enemy, of course, he's going to come into different women's lives because you're powerful. Yes, it is evident. It is very evident. And if you just sit and listen, it will speak to you. Like, I'll give you ladies one more scenario. I live in an apartment, but my apartment is really, really big. And so, the Lord, I'm gonna be totally transparent with y'all because I already testified about this in church. The Lord had told me to fast for 5 days, just fruit and vegetables. This was probably like a month and a half, 2 months ago. And so when I fasted, all of a sudden, I'm doing the stuff for my events and things are going good. And next thing you know, I'm walking up my steps to my apartment, and this man was at the top of my steps. And he was like, wow, you're beautiful. You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. I like everything about you. And so I'm not going to lie. Being a female, he was a very nice looking guy. He wasn't from where I am. He was from the East Coast. He had a nice little swag, dressed nice and everything like that. But I knew God told me to fast. And the first thing that he did, he talked to me and then he offered me pizza. Okay. That wasn't it. As I stood there, I could see the stress on him that he was going through something. He couldn't be still. He was moving all around. And a lot of times when you see men like that, that's their mind. Like a person that can't be still, that's what's going on in their mind. They're used to that. And so I talked to him for a couple minutes, got a little bit into the conversation. Actually, it was like 45 minutes. And when I came back in my apartment, immediately the Lord said, counterfeit. And that was after he showed me he was deceitful. Okay. So when you're ignoring those red flags, as Miss Taylor Made said, you are putting yourself in the line of fire. It's red for a reason. Red means do not touch. And some of us are just like, oh, it's okay. He'll change with time, and time can change a person. But when you're single, it's so much that you see clearly. It's like it helps you not to waste your time. Can you imagine me being as young as I was, 23 years old, involved with a man that was 41 years old? I want to have kids. He already has them. I want to travel the world, and do different things. And we just could not come into agreement. And a couple years ago, I finally was like, you know what? I give up. And the giving up was more of a surrender. Okay, like, Lord, forgive me for being prideful, because I'm going to be honest, ladies, like a lot of times that's what it is. Pride will tell you, oh, I got this. And, I'm going to just make him dinner and he's going to be fine, or I'll just do this, or I'll wear this, or I'll be sexually intimate with him like this and we'll be fine. What you don't understand, though, is in sexual intimacy, you are actually joining with that person. So even when you walk away, there are still other things that you have attached to you from them. And then you have to go through like a purging and a cleansing just to get that person's residue off of you. And so I really take this singlehood very seriously. I've never had this many men try to date me, court me in the most disrespectful way than I've ever had, such as now. And it's because I've made the commitment to myself. And so I want to give you just a couple more nuggets and then I'm going to end this. I try and do like 30 minutes. Sometimes it goes over, but if you have questions, you're able to roll them across the screen. Of course, this is going to be available for the replay. But nugget number one, if you are in a relationship and you as the woman see that it's not going anywhere, and we as women, we don't have to wait until he's ready to walk away. You take control over your life and you end it. Because when a man knows and understands that he's not going to commit, he will stay around because he's comfortable. And he will stay around and then he'll waste your time. So I want you to take your time back, take your authority back, take control back over your life and walk away. If that's something that you're going through. Nugget number two, if you're single or if you're even in a relationship, don't let anybody else dictate or tell you who you should date and who you should not. I've had, it was years prior, I had one of my friends that wanted to hook me up with a man, and it was so crazy. She hooked me up with a man that she was attracted to that had the same issues as her. Okay. So that wasn't healthy. Thank God I dodged the bullet, but you have to be careful of things like that. So be careful of your time, be careful of the hookup factor. Like, God knows who you're going to marry or who you're going to be. And I'm not saying that he can't use people to merge two people. But if you're in a time of being single and God has consecrated you to himself for a time of preparation, don't miss it. You can miss your destiny from not doing it. And nugget number three, I'm going to say, love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself. Enjoy the time that you spend with yourself. Do nice things for yourself. Take yourself to the movies. Get the manicure. Get the pedicure. Get your hair done. Affirm yourself, find out what your purpose is, find out who you are, in the word of God, what he is calling you to do, because all you're going to do is add to your husband when the time is right. If you're meant to be married, I ain't giving no prophecies as far as this is your husband, like Oprah, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. I'm just simply saying there's a time for everything. And you don't want to miss your time waiting and spending time with a person that doesn't want to spend eternally the rest of their life, a lifetime with you. And so that is why I am single and I enjoy it. I would be lying. I would be lying if I said I didn't. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it does get a little testy, but for the purpose that it's going to serve later on in my life, it's worth it. It's worth it. So I had some notes, and I think I actually covered all the notes that I wanted to say. The last part is that I put up a post and it says some marriages have literally ruined people's lives. And when you think about it, it's true. Some people have said yes, not just to the relationship, but a lifelong commitment to somebody they should have said no to. And it's a hard thing when you get married and then you realize, I don't even like this person. They don't clean. They're nasty. We don't have the same moral compass. And you marry that person. And it's I'm not even gonna go into that because I'm not even gonna go into that direction. But nevertheless, some marriage is beautiful because that's what God wants. But he also wants us to prepare ourselves and use wisdom on the decisions as far as who we're dating, courting, and who we're allowing to put us in the sphere of people and what we're doing with ourselves until that time presents itself to you. So, I love getting on. I love doing the lives. It is so refreshing to have this platform to be able to share with you. So, I want to thank all you ladies for giving me the opportunity to actually talk to you. Um, One second, we got a comment. Finding your purpose in life is one of the most challenging situations I've dealt with, but once you get it and learn it, it's worth the fight. And you're absolutely right. When I tell you it has taken me 10 years, 10 years to finally just get the nugget. Okay, like, wow, Lord, this is what you want me to do. And all the battles and everything I went through made it make sense when I figured out my purpose. But last year I did a class with maybe like 10 women. It was called the Purpose Driven Woman. And where I helped them unpack their destiny. And we read a book by Rick Warren titled The Purpose Driven Life. And it's a 40-day devotional. If you ladies are interested in doing that, maybe I can set up some type of system where we're able to do it. I just sent out emails of encouragement, the material that they were to read, and then we would discuss it through like a call. So I haven't done it again. I did it last year and it was amazing. So I recommend that book to you. It's called Rick Warren, The Purpose Driven Life. And it's more, you just read like 1 or 2 pages every day for 40 days. It's really a simple read and you take notes. And every time I read it, I learn something different about myself and my purpose goes deeper and deeper and deeper. But thank you so much, Shantae, for that. All the wisdom that you have given has been extremely, extremely needed. And I really appreciate the dialogue and conversations that you have done. Yes, Miss Low Sellers. So who knows? Who knows what this group is going to end up doing? I just enjoyed doing the post and coming on live. But ladies, this is a way and a platform for me to serve you. So if there is anything that you want to talk about or any subjects that you want to get into, you're more than welcome to personally directly message me and let me know. I don't mind doing research for the group. So just let me know. And so in a couple minutes, if you guys, I'm going to stay on for a couple more minutes because sometimes when we come in later and I'm going to take some more questions if you have it. But of course, I'm on Instagram as Patricia Tomlinson. I have the regular Facebook group, then this group, I Am Woman. And then there's also the YouTube channel where I just have been uploading different videos. I uploaded one called Where's Your Crown? Women Who Exploit Other Women. You're Not the Problem. I talked a little bit about business, how sometimes you can't merge with people or work with certain people. So you're more than welcome. I'll probably put that in the group so that you guys can see the link. But I love you all. I thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be available in the replay. And so I'm going to wait a couple minutes and then I'm going to end the live.